Howdy, folks. Tony Rosales here, again with Kevin Leatherbarrow. Just a quick disclaimer, we are candidates. We are running for office. We will regularly do that. We are part of the Cascade County Libertarian Party. But the discussion we want to have today is more about a professional conversation, especially with respect to special needs students and educating them in our community. And that's why I think Kevin is probably one of the better people to talk to, just because he runs a business related to this, and he's one of the few members in our community who is not tied into the school district, which we'll get around to how that actually looks. So, Kevin, why don't you just talk a little bit about what you do and your professional background for these types of students?
Sure. Again, my name is Kevin Leatherbarrow. I've ran a business now here in Great Falls for approximately 8 years. My specialty is IEPs, special ed, preparing them or fighting for children inside of school districts for that manner. People come to me to look over IEPs, advocate for them in IEP meetings. I've done quite a few actually in Great Falls, where you'll actually see the name of Go and Grow on IEPs here in Great Falls.
So IEPs, individual education plan.
Yes.
What are they?
Well, they're plans that are put together for children with special needs, and that can range from very minimal, as long as they are they've seen a doctor, a specialist, and they have gone through that process of being evaluated.
So there's like some regulations behind this, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely, you can't just throw an IEP together for a child because he has a little bit of behavioral problem. That would be more for 504 or something of that nature. Once they are diagnosed through the medical field in that manner, then they can be placed on IEPs for what they need. Services.
So when do you typically see a student and start evaluating them for an IEP? Like, what does that look like for you and your business for these last couple of years?
So kind of walking through that. When they walk through my door or they give me a phone call, we always give them a free consultation, and we sit down with the parents and we see where their child actually is. And then what that will entail then after is gaining that information from the school districts, looking at those IEPs that they already have for them. And then what we do is we kind of parallel that, and we'll do our own evaluation.
So it's like a second opinion.
Absolutely, it is a second opinion for sure.
How often does the school district try and proactively reach out to you to get your second opinion versus families reaching out to you to get the second opinion from you? I
don't have the school district call me.
So they sort of just assume that whatever they set up for an IEP is probably good enough.
Yes, I would say so, yes.
What kind of advocacy are there for the parents and students in terms of trying to let them know, hey, you should be trying to get a second opinion? I mean, I think that's just common sense for anything. We encourage that for medical, for a lot of medical issues. So why isn't that done here?
You know, I don't have an answer for you why it's not done here. In our experiences going through these IEPs, they have a template they can follow that is on the OPI website, and they follow that template to a T. And when we see these IEPs, when they come to us, we look at, how are they going to be implemented? Is it going to be something that is feasible to be implemented? And then we write those IEPs after we get done and cross-examine both of those from the district and those from an outside opinion of myself. So I don't know why they wouldn't want to be marrying both, especially if they're short-staffed and they don't have the ability to write IEPs right now or have those evaluations done, because you need the evaluation process first. The evaluation process looks at the academics and then looks at obviously what the medical is doing with that specific child.
Is there anything when you compare the two, like what you end up developing and what the school district's developing? I'm guessing there's a lot of similarities there, but what are some of those key differences that you often see when you have a new student come through?
say that again.
So, like, from what the public school provides and what you provide, what are some of those key differences in yours that you might not see in the public school IEP plan?
Well, they don't. For some reason, they don't like to do benchmarks in their IEPs, which is it blows my mind because it holds them very highly accountable for that child's growth. A benchmark, let's say they have an English one, right? Write 5 sentences in a paragraph. We'll just make it really simple, okay? And then underneath there should be 3 benchmarks put in place. Each one of them is separate, 3 months apart. That way we reevaluate it, and then it can also do one of 2 things. One, it tells us that we need to continue to work on that goal, or that goal has been completed within those months, and he's making great progress. We can reevaluate that, take that goal out, and put a new goal in that we're going to we want another one in there.
So it almost sounds like, first implementing those benchmarks provide you the feasibility, or gives you an idea if it's feasible, or gives you at least that framework to say that it should be feasible. And then the whole point of it is to follow it and say, were we right? Was that feasible? Do we need to increase the amount of challenge, or do we need to decrease the amount of challenge? Right. And that seems to make sense. But they're not doing that with the public school IEP plans?
No, I don't see them very often. And matter of fact, they have fought back hard on not putting benchmarks in. And I've had to fight pretty hard in the beginning to get those benchmarks placed in there. Right. And then after that, they just started putting them in because they knew I would shut up. If they put the benchmarks in there for me, as I'm advocating for that child in the school district, then they know that I will kind of, okay, Kevin's satisfied. That Go and Grow is satisfied with that, but they don't implement it.
So they don't see the value in the benchmarks. They're more so doing it because the value that they see is that it'll shut you up. Yeah, no, and I hate to say that. That's how it feels, because those who walk through my door and I get we get to hear a percentage of what's happening in the community. But they don't even know that we're here. So I don't really advertise my business per se. We are very much word of mouth. Yeah. So those who are searching out are really, really desperate for something that needs to change. So when I get them, obviously they're very disturbed at what's happening with their child. So when we say, hey, now we're at the point where I would call Lance up and I'd say, hey, I got an IEP here. I'm going to come to your meeting. I'm gonna set this up, and then I'll see you at the IEP meeting. Where that is a courtesy. I don't need to do that. IDA law is very clear. A parent can hire an outside service for anything that they possibly need for a second opinion for their child. Right. They can also ask the district to pay for some of those services, and a lot of times that's cumbersome on them. But I don't have, if they're about helping the children, I don't understand why that would be a small thing like a benchmark put in, that would be something that they would argue about or even push back on. Right. Because even if we didn't, let's say it was math and English, right? That's basically where we're at when we're writing IEPs. If they were getting 60 minutes to 90 minutes of extra services outside of the classroom, and we see that the benchmark is showing that child doesn't need that in either one of those subjects, that's less that I need to pull that child out, number one, and that's less service that they have to provide for another child because they've made that benchmark and they can now focus on other children that are moving through quickly, right, or need a lot more help, right, or add those things. So it's weird. So you mentioned something earlier too, that there's a shortage of special education teachers in our community, and it's sort of surprising that they don't reach out to you to help provide some of those services that may be valuable. And not every student's probably going to find value in coming here, right? Everyone has their own individual educational journey. Yep. And some systems or programs work for some, not for others. But with that said, with that shortage, there should be a role for our school district to play to work with the community to be able to get folks to the resources they need, right?
Absolutely.
But you don't see that happening for your business.
No, not at all. And I don't know why. It boggles me. I really don't mind. Am I a bulldog? Absolutely. I fight for the children. I don't care what the districts have to say or how they say or what they do. I look at what the child needs. I go in and I advocate for that child in a professional manner,
Right.
and with the language that they can understand. A lot of times parents go into these IEPs and they have 9 people against them. They don't know what the teacher's language is when they're looking at these things. So to just decipher that language for them, they feel so much better.
Right.
And they feel so much better that they have somebody alongside of them when they go in that has already contacted the school, told them that they're coming. We have done our own evaluations along the side of theirs, which may match and which may not match.
Right.
And then we come together as a team to figure out how to figure that out.
Well, and I think that points to a reason on why second opinions are so important, is because of the power dynamic that occurs. And that's why you see that in healthcare, and that's why you should see that here as well. Because you have the experts, so our school district, or in healthcare it's your physician, trying to talk to their patient or their families, and giving them the information that they're comfortable already. They know what the information is, they know how to talk about it, but they don't know what the parent knows or doesn't know. And honestly, sometimes parents don't even know what sort of questions they need to ask, because everything's just so overwhelming that they need an advocate there to provide a second opinion, or just to be able to advocate for their student and them as a parent too.
Yeah, and you would think after they mentioned how short they actually were, I'm pretty much the only business here in Great Falls, and I've been here and I've been established that has the capability and the know-how. I have a master's degree in English. A master's degree in education. I have my English degree. I have all the degrees you could possibly have, and all the experience. And so it's I guess from where I come from, I've never seen so much pushback. I've never seen so much pushback against almost a personal level.
Well, and so what's so crazy about this, and if any of you have been following my campaign for school board, one of the things that I've just elevated was the conflict of interest that we're seeing in our school board, or in our school district, with Lance running the special education, and also at one point, he's no longer on the board, but at one point he was on the board and president of Peace Place, a nonprofit that provides fairly unique services that aren't traditionally offered here in the public school or in our community in general, which is great. But there are some concerns that, hey, he serves on the board for that, and he's able to help elevate that business to parents and families and their students, to be able to provide those services. Yet he's not doing the same thing for your business or the resources that you're providing to help kids and families. Is it because you don't have a board that he can be on, or what is the reason?
It might be that might be just it, that they can't influence my board. I don't have a board, or they can't work their way into it. I don't want to have. We've always wanted to have a good relationship with the school district, and they know that. I have children right now that do a half day with me and do a half day in school, and we work towards a lot of times putting those kids back into those school districts. And into the school district. We don't, here at Go and Grow, what I do is we don't want to take those funds necessarily away from the school district. We want them to keep it. So that allows them to come to me half day. It doesn't have to influence their ability to have that child in that school for their funding. Okay. Now, if a parent turns and said, well, we love what you guys do, we're just going to pull them out because we know that service is right here, we still advocate to say, hey, anytime you want to throw that child back into school, we make a plan to make sure that they are ready to go back into that school.
Right.
And I have
and I think it's so important for that you recognize that there's value within our school district, because there is a lot of value within our school district. Because, even just taking out the academics, thinking about those extracurriculars, which are so important for the development of students. You can offer some of those same things that they're able to offer, like music, like choir, like sports, etc. And so there is value in having a team and a community effort in educating our students and our children. But it doesn't seem like we're doing that here in Great Falls.
No, they've done nothing but push it away, in my instance. So if they're looking at other instances, and that's where we came up with the conflict of interest insight, and saying, okay, if you're going to sit on that board, then why is one place getting it who doesn't really have the services that I can provide, which is looking over IEPs, helping them evaluate those IEPs. I can't make a medical, but what we do is we can make an academic suggestion and help them write that IEP. And a lot of people don't understand too is that when a parent says, I want this in the IEP, they have to put it into the IEP. There's none of this pushback going back and forth. There's negotiation. That's okay. Hey, maybe this isn't the best. When we listen to the school district, the parent listens to that side of it. But when they say, hey, you know what? No, I like Kevin's IEP. This IEP is awesome. I think we should use it. They literally, by IDA law, have to acknowledge that and go ahead and work with that. They don't have a choice. So, when we see those things, again, it's not trying to work against the district at all. And I don't know where this stigma came.
Right.
It might have came because I'm a bulldog. I go in and I really do fight for the children. And the families that are there. I don't put up with any BS. I don't put up with beating around the bush. I don't believe in that.
Well, and I think part of it is that we're so enticed by what's going on from a large national perspective, and I would agree that there is probably an interesting level of scrutiny on school boards across our country. But we are in Great Falls, Montana. We are, yes, we are influenced by what's happening in national conversations, but we have our own problems here, and over-scrutinization is not one of them. We need more scrutiny within our school board and our school districts just to understand how are they operating? How are they truly working with our community? So one of the things that we want to make sure that we offer folks is just reach out to us to be able to talk about anything related to our public schools, and especially with the special needs students, and getting them the education and the services that they really deserve. Because I think you and I both recognize, and I think our school district recognizes this too, that every student has an individual educational journey. And we need to, as a community, need to be figuring out and working together to understand how do we provide that individualization to students. And if you aren't getting that sort of services or even just common courtesy of conversation and discourse with your school board, your school district, then reach out to us. We'd love to hear what's going on and help you figure out how you can provide the best for your student. You can contact us on Facebook. We're at the Cascade County Libertarian Party. We're also on Twitter. Feel free to reach out to us there, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to Go and Grow Educational Services here in Great Falls for what we do. You can reach out to that as well, and we will respond to you as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.